Hi everyone, and welcome to Choosing Love Today. Let me start with something that we've all seen before. It may have been in the movies or just life. Two people can walk through the exact same set of circumstances that we're going to call failure at the same moment, the same shame, and somehow end up with two completely different stories. It's kind of the thing you'd expect to see in a blockbuster movie. Two characters standing at the same crossroads, facing the same darkness, the same difficulties, but one turns left and the other one turns right, and then everything changes. And the twist, the part nobody sees coming, is that the difference isn't the failure, it's the direction they run afterwards. In the Gospels, we meet two men who prove this in the most dramatic way possible. Two men who walked with Jesus. They ate with him. They learned from him. These two men who failed him on the same night, Peter and Judas. Both of them stumbled. Both of them broke under the pressure. Both of them felt the weight of regret so heavy it could crush a soul. But here's the twist. The moment the camera zooms in and the music shifts, Peter ran toward Jesus, but Judas ran away from him. Same failure, same Savior, but two completely different endings. And that's where part 2 begins. Because the Jesus we meet in the Gospels is not the Jesus we imagine. He's not the Jesus we try to shape into our preferences or our expectations. He's the Jesus who steps into the middle of our real lives, our real failures, our real questions, and he says, "Come to me." He didn't say clean yourself up first. He didn't say prove yourself. He didn't say earn your way back. He simply said, come. And that's why this matters, because if we're honest, we are going to stay honest in this series, we still respond to failure like Peter or Judas. So we have to ask ourselves, are we going to run toward Jesus or away from him? And the Jesus we meet, the real Jesus, is the one who keeps calling us back to life. So let's go back to the beginning. Before we ever get to the end of the Gospels, before Peter's restoration or Judas's despair, we need to go back to the beginning, because the Jesus we meet doesn't start with failure. He starts with an invitation. He steps onto the scene in a world full of expectations and assumptions and religious noise. A world where everyone thought they already knew what God should look like. What should God do? And who God should favor. And then Jesus shows up. And he doesn't fit anybody's categories. Not Rome's, not the religious leaders, not even his own disciples. The Jesus we meet is surprising. He's disarming, he's unsettling, but in the best way possible. He comforts the broken and confronts the comfortable, sometimes in the same breath. And if we're honest, we still wrestle with that today. We still try to shape Jesus into our own preferences. We still want a Jesus who agrees with us, someone who blesses our plans and fits neatly into our own expectations. But the Jesus we meet in the Gospels refuses to be reduced. He refuses to be tamed, and he refuses to be edited. Instead, he reveals God as God truly is, not as we imagine him to be. So I want to look at 4 different ways we meet Jesus in the Bible. First, let's look at Jesus as the revealer. When you open the Gospels and watch Jesus step into the scene, the first thing you notice is this. He doesn't start by telling people what to do. He starts by showing them who God is. This happens before the miracles, before all the parables, before the crowds. Jesus reveals the heart of the Father. People had all kinds of ideas about God. A God who was distant, a God who was angry, a God who only favored the elite, a God who was impossible to please. But the Jesus we meet doesn't reinforce any of those assumptions. He reveals a God who steps close, a God who sees, a God who heals, a God who touches the untouchable and welcomes the unworthy. He reveals a God who moves towards us, not away from us. And once you see him, once you really see him, you can't unsee him, because the Jesus we meet is bigger, better, truer, and more beautiful than anything we expect. Secondly, I want to look at Jesus, the teacher, and the disruptor. Now, these two belong together because Jesus teaches us by disrupting us. If Jesus only revealed the heart of God, people would have welcomed him with open arms. But the Jesus we meet doesn't just reveal, he disrupts. Not to shame and not to embarrass, but to free. He disrupts the Pharisees' belief that holiness means separation. He disrupts the crowd's belief that the Messiah will be a political warrior. He disrupts the Pharisees' belief that greatness comes from position. He disrupts the sinner's belief that they're too far gone. He disrupts the righteous belief that they're doing just fine. And he does it all with the same steady invitation. Follow me. Because the Jesus we meet doesn't come to fit into our categories. He comes to reshape them. Every disruption is an act of love. Every confrontation is an invitation. Every challenge is a doorway to freedom. And how does he do it? He teaches. Not with lectures, not with pressure, and not with theological jargon. He teaches with questions. Questions like, who do you say that I am? Why are you afraid? Why do you want me, or what do you want me to do for you? Do you love me? Questions that peel back the layers, questions that reveal the heart, questions that make each one of us stop and ask ourselves, what's going on inside me right now? And then he teaches with stories, stories about seeds and soil, stories about lost sheep and lost sons, stories about lost coins and vineyards, about mercy and forgiveness, stories that sneak past our defenses and land right in the center of our hearts. Jesus teaches in a way that makes truth feel like an invitation, not a burden. He teaches in a way that makes people say, I've never heard anything like this before. And he still teaches that way today. Thirdly, I want to look at Jesus as the inviter. After Jesus reveals the heart of God, after he disrupts the assumptions people carried, he does something breathtaking. He invites people in. I'm reminded of one of my favorite scenes in a TV show called The Chosen. If you've ever watched it before, it's a historical drama series that dramatizes the life of Jesus Christ through the perspective of those who knew him, mostly his apostles, but there were a few others who traveled with him. Anyway, there is a scene from the first season, episode 7, when Jesus was walking past Matthew as he was working in his tax collector's booth. Jesus walked past his booth and he said, Matthew, son of Alphaeus, follow me. And Matthew got up and followed him. Now, that may not seem crazy to you, but Matthew was a Jew, and he was working for the Romans. So he wasn't liked by his own people, and because he was a Jew, he wasn't popular with the Romans either. So what Jesus did was totally counterculture. And that's what Jesus was doing, doing things that were totally counterculture. He doesn't call the polished, nor does he call the powerful. And not even the people who had it all figured out. He invites fishermen. He invites tax collectors. Women were pushed to the margins, sinners who had run out of excuses, religious leaders who were curious but cautious. And his invitation is always the same. Come and see, come and follow. Come to me, all who are weary. Come and find rest. Jesus never begins with demands. He begins with welcome. He doesn't say, earn your place. Instead, he says, I've already made room. His invitation isn't just to believe something. It's to become someone, to become whole, to become free, to become alive. Because the Jesus we meet doesn't just offer information, he offers transformation. And then fourth, we look at Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life. And then Jesus says the words, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Not a way, not one truth, and not an option for life, but again, the way, the truth, and the life. He is the way. Not a map, not a formula, not a checklist, but a person. The one who leads us home. He is the truth. Not shifting, not bending, not changing. Truth that matters, that doesn't move with the cultural wind. Truth that doesn't depend on our moods, but truth that sets us free. He is the life, not survival, not existence, not getting by. And he's life, real life. The kind that fills the soul, the kind that wakes you up in the morning with hope, the kind that carries you when you're tired, the kind that reminds you that you were made for more. And here's where this becomes more than theology. This becomes personal, because every one of us at some point stands in a moment where we need a way, a moment where we need truth, a moment where we need life. Maybe it's a moment of failure, like Peter. Maybe it's a moment of regret, like Judas. Maybe it's a moment of confusion or disappointment or exhaustion, or just the quiet ache of wondering, is this all there is? And into that moment, Jesus doesn't hand you a lecture. He doesn't hand you a list. He doesn't hand you a religious performance review. He hands you himself, and he says, I am the way. When you don't know where to go next and the path ahead seems foggy, when you're standing at a crossroads and both roads look uncertain, he says, walk with me. I'll lead you. I am the truth. When the world feels confusing, when voices pull you in every direction, and I'm sure we've all gone through that. I know I have. When you're not sure what to believe about God, about yourself, about your future, he says, anchor yourself in me. I won't change. I am the life. When you feel empty, when you feel tired, when you feel like you're running on fumes, he says, I'm the one who can fill you again. And here's the part that still amazes me. Jesus doesn't say, find the way. He says, I am the way. He doesn't say, discover the truth. He says, I am the truth. He doesn't say, earn the way. He says, I am the way. He says, I am the life. It's not about striving. It's not about performing. It's not about proving. It's about trusting the one who stands in front of you with open hands and an open heart. And this brings us right back to Peter and Judas. Both men failed. Both men felt the weight of regret. Both men stood at a crossroads. But only one man ran toward the way. Only one trusted the truth. Only one found life. And the same Jesus who met Peter in his failure is the same Jesus who meets you in yours. The same Jesus who offered Peter a future is the same Jesus who offers you one. The same Jesus who restored Peter is the same Jesus who can restore you. Because the Jesus we meet, the real Jesus, steps into our confusion, our questions, and our fears. And he says, come, walk with me, trust me, Let me lead you into life. So today as we close, please hear this. The Jesus we meet is not the Jesus that we imagine. He's better. He's truer. He's more loving, more honest, and more disruptive in a good way, and more inviting than we ever expected. He reveals the Father. He confronts our illusions. He invites us close. He teaches us with questions and stories, and He leads us into life. And He still says, "Come, follow me." And I want you to think about our memory verse for today. For this week, we go back to John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Let this verse breathe for a moment. Jesus isn't giving us a slogan. He isn't offering a theological formula. He's giving us Himself when He says, I am the way. He's saying when you don't know where to go next, when the path feels foggy, when life feels like a maze, walk with me. I'll lead you. When He says, I am the truth, He's saying when the world feels confusing, when voices pull you in every direction, when you're not sure what to believe, anchor yourself in me. I won't change. And when He says, I'm the life, He's saying when you feel empty, when you feel tired, when you feel like you're running on fumes, I'm the one who can fill you again. This week, take a moment, maybe in the morning with your coffee, maybe in the quiet of the evening, and let Jesus' words settle into your soul. Let them remind you that you're not walking alone. Let them remind you that you're not expected to figure everything out. Let them remind you that life, real life, is found in Him. Write that verse down. Say it out loud. Carry it with you. Let it shape the direction you run when life gets very hard. Friend, may you meet Jesus this week. Not the Jesus you imagine, but the Jesus who truly is. May He reveal the Father to you in ways that quiet your fears and awaken your hope. May He lovingly disrupt the places where you've settled for less than life. And may His voice be the one who follows you the path feels unclear. May you hear His invitation, come to me, in the middle of your questions, your failures, and your ordinary days. And may you walk in the confidence that He is the way who leads you, the truth who frees you, and the life who fills you. Go in grace and walk in peace. And as always, I thank you for spending this time with me today. If you have any questions for me or choose to leave a comment, you can always reach me at mikem@choosinglovetoday.com. I hope you have a great week. I look forward to getting back with you next week and begin looking at the book of Acts. Until then, I hope you will like and share this message with someone you know, and always remember to keep choosing love today.